What's the last movie you've watched?
Oh, I would probably have to say Shrek. I love Shrek. I don't
The
know.
first one?
It was the first one. I freaking love Shrek.
Shrek?
Like, to anyone who's ever spoken to me, I have like a really deep emotional attachment to this movie. Like, I don't even know why. It's just,
Wait,
I
so
love Shrek.
just the first Shrek movie, not like the rest.
Oh, well, I'm getting to the rest. So I just watched well, I have to say I've watched Shrek 1 like probably about 10 times. It's kind of like a comfort movie to me.
Do you like
Wait,
two? I feel like two is also really elite.
Um,
You
yes, 2 is good.
hesitated.
Okay, so I think the ranking is Shrek 1, 2, and like in order of like the release
I
date.
do feel
I
like
think
they got progressively worse as more movies came
yeah,
out.
for
Sorry.
sure, like definitely. Like no, nothing to be sorry about. I 100% agree with you. I
What
think
is
the
it
first
about
Shrek is like the
Shrek that you
best.
just love?
You know what? I feel like it's so much deeper than people realize because it's got like these subtle messages. Like when you watch it as a kid, it's just like a movie about an ogre and a donkey. But when you watch it as an adult, like it's just different. It just hits different. Like yeah. Like I don't really have the words for it right now, but it's a very special movie to me.
Would
You
you
could
dress up?
say that the movie has layers,
Oh yeah.
like
Do you know
onion.
that quote? Like onions?
Onions, yeah.
Yeah,
Stop.
it's definitely.
Are you
Oh
one of
my
those people
god.
that would dress up as a Shrek character for Halloween?
Yeah, if I had like the resources for it, like 100%.
Oh my
But
gosh. I feel like I'm learning so much about you, Chloe.
yeah, I feel like in my role as a research kind of assistant research project officer, really long title by the way, I have to be very serious, otherwise people won't take me seriously. um, but yeah.
I don't. In fact, I think I take you more seriously after that.
Oh really?
Yeah, yeah,
Good
100%.
to
Now that
hear.
I know about your love of Shrek, I'm like, yes, I take her seriously. Diving into our topic for today. So,
Yes.
for context, Chloe, did you want to give our audience a little bit of backstory about who you are and what you do and your expertise, if you will?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Chloe. So I'm one of so my title is Research Project Assistant and Research Project Officer. So it's a bit of a long title, but I'm basically very much involved in anything Gen Z research at Student Edge. So yeah, we really like to delve into the concerns, the behaviors, and attitudes of Gen Z in kind of like a range of domains. And that might involve study or future pathways, which is what we're about to discuss today. But yeah, I don't really have a defined kind of research avenue because we do generally just look at Gen Z as a whole kind of thing.
This is something that Youth Insight, which is part of Student Edge, has done research on before. But we've
Yeah.
had members write in, and quite a few members actually were concerned about this. But in particular, members were concerned about what courses they should study that AI aren't going to impact because they're obviously worried about the future work opportunities and if AI is going to impact that or not. Youth Insight have done a study on this, I think, last year on student and Gen Z like attitudes towards AI. Like from that study, to start off with, Chloe, can you tell us a little bit about those findings and like kind of what the attitudes are already?
What we've found is that almost 1 in 5 Gen Zs have reconsidered their current or future study and career prospects because of Gen I. So I do think that you're not alone in kind of feeling this concern. It's felt by like a wide range of people, and in fact, that kind of proportion might have gone up since then. Before we kind of delve into the research kind of outcomes and survey results, I do want to emphasize that as like a kind of general advice, like regardless of what's happening, like with AI and whatnot, I think just study what you enjoy. Like, no, because no matter what you do, uni is going to be hard. Like, regardless of what you study, and I think it's going to be so much harder if you're studying something that you don't enjoy. And just like no matter what you study, you'll still be learning something. Like whether that's the technical skills or like the soft skills that in some cases are equally as important as what you're like the content that you're actually learning at uni. So just yeah, don't discount like the little things that you learn in uni, and you know you can apply it to more context that you think. Okay, but moving on to the actual kind of results. 77% of Gen Zs have been using AI. So that statistic was from November of last year. So I suspect that that percentage might have actually gone up since last time. So as you can see, like the vast majority of us are already using Gen AI. So I think that's really good. It kind of says that we are a pretty AI literate generation, I would say, compared to other generations, which is really good to hear, especially because it seems like more companies are starting to incorporate AI into their workplaces. The fact that we are kind of familiar with AI, it's really good to see that.
I want to know if you guys, like, because we're all Gen Zs, are you guys using AI, like, a little bit?
Yeah,
or
for sure.
A lot, or are you?
Oh my god.
Well, no, sorry, Chloe, you go.
Yeah, how are you
you
using
sure?
AI?
I just feel
Yeah.
okay. Oh my god, I am using AI for like every aspect of my life. Sometimes there'll be like emails or text messages that I don't know how to reply to. So I just ask AI, how do you reply to this? Or how do I say it in a nice way? So that's probably the primary kind of use of AI for me at the moment. And I would say sometimes just like looking up stuff, it's just AI kind of the output that it kind of spits out. It's more organized than Google, where you have to kind of look at each thing that's listed and kind of just synthesize that information yourself. When AI actually just does that for you, it has like a little intro. These are the subtopics relating to that topic and kind of like other relevant dot points. So yeah, I really like how the kind of output is so organized for you, and it just makes researching.
Say I agree with you, Chloe. Like, I think back to when I was like a student, and I almost wish I had that option, because like I definitely find myself doing this now. I don't know if this is a good or a bad thing, but like I find that I will search things on AI first to kind of get like a categorized like report too. Almost, and then I'll take what they've given me, and then I'll do further research. I think like the caveat we have to mention here is that like I don't think anyone should be putting things into an AI system and then just taking that as Bible and like taking that and 100%. I think it's like a great pre-search, if that makes sense. But what you get from that is then things that you need to look into a little bit more. I definitely do find that I use AI like that as well. Like I'll do like, if sometimes as well, if I'm just stumped and I just need a starting point, I'll use it because I'm like, this is an easier search engine than Google.
100%.
Really bad. But recently I put my friend onto it. She was trying to break up with a guy, and we both didn't know how to. I don't actually know if we can put this in, but so like we use ChatGPT to like ask ChatGPT like how to come up with a breakup text so that she could break up with this guy that she'd been seeing. Yeah. Because like,
can I say, Emma?
Yes.
Sorry. I've been testing all the different Gen AIs. ChatGPT, it can be good for like text and all that. Snap AI, everyone's sleeping on Snap AI. Snap AI is so good for like text. It's more like conversational, and it's kind of like, like I go on Snapchat and I ask, oh, how do I reply to this text? And it gives like a more human sounding. It's not perfect, but it's more like, it's less robotic.
So and we should like use Snap AI to break up with this guy. Noted.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not condoning anything, but like...
I mean, I know you're not the biggest fan of like chat AI, but do you... What are your feelings? What do you feel?
I think... Look, I think when it first came around, it was kind of fun to see what it could do. Like, I'm not saying that it's the devil or anything like that, but like I think I think there are valid concerns from like young people going like, oh my God, if it's capable of doing this now, what could it do in the future? And I think going back to what you were saying of using it as a starting point, but like, not taking all of it like as gospel, I guess, is like my approach to it. Like, I'm a little bit, I guess you could call me stubborn, where I will absolutely use it as a last resort. Like, I want to formulate my own ideas on my own, and if I'm feeling really desperate, then I'll turn to it. But I think for me, because I know a lot of people as well, some of whom I'm good friends with, who are artists, who are photographers, things like that. I guess not in the sense of chat AI, but in terms of images and things like that, being generated. And, there's heaps of like controversy and news over like people's images being stolen and repurposed in AI and stuff like that. And like, I have seen the way that people have spoken about how it's affected their work, like all the things they do to make a living. It's really sad, and I think that's why I feel like kind of an opposition against it, to try and not use it, because I've seen the way that it affects my peers in their personal life, which sounds like, I know it sounds really dramatic to some people, but like, when people make a living off making their own art, or, even, you can even go as far as like even writing and stuff like that, it's sad. And it's like, it's also really like scary and interesting how good it's kind of getting, but then it's almost hard to escape it. Like the fact that it's come to Meta, like it just like, I don't know about if you guys like remember seeing it for the first time, you're like, oh my God, what's this? Like, I didn't sign up for this. It's just here. It's waiting for me.
Yeah.
It's bizarre, like how quickly it's evolved. Even in like the last year and a half alone. So yeah, that's my very long-winded feelings about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on all of that actually. Because I know some people are feeling like they're outsourcing their thinking with AI, and you kind of not so much I'll say just forget. You kind of forget how to think for yourself kind of thing. And I think a lot of people might feel like, it's just because the computer said it's right, but it's not most of the time, or some of the time. And yeah, I do agree, like I do value that, just learning how to think for yourself, forming your own opinions, and just thinking creatively is such an important skill that needs to be developed, regardless of AI is there or not. But yeah, and it is sad, like, AI, getting kind of affecting a lot of these people in these industries. And you touched on a bit of like how is like an ethical way to use AI. And speaking on that, 60% of Gen Zs think it's ethical to use Gen AI tools, and 48% are worried about the impact of Gen AI. So I think, there is kind of, when we see that about half are kind of worried, there is like, a big proportion that are aware of the direction it might take. And I think this kind of touches on what Bianca said before, like it is scary seeing what some of these technologies are capable of, and like how can we like kind of distinguish between what's legitimate and what's not. Like the scary thing is kind of when it starts infiltrating into like official media and documents and all that. So yeah.
No, it's really interesting because, yeah, like you said, half of Gen Z seem to be really concerned about AI, and that's something that like we had written into our student edge a lot, like definitely more than 5 times. And I guess in your research as like a Gen Z researcher, and your experience, in that field, do you think that like how would you say, like what would you say, is there something that we should be worried about, like when we're looking at our future careers? Are there courses that might be impacted? Like I guess we won't really know until the time comes, but like what have you found, I guess, in your research?
This firm called Mandala kind of conducted research on how AI might be changing the workforce. And they kind of like analyzed the impacts in kind of like 3 levels. So the first is, because I know a lot of people, like myself included, I used to think of AI impacting the workforce as a black and white, like it will replace your jobs or it won't. But they've kind of looked at it as in AI could replicate your tasks, or AI could complement your tasks, so it won't like completely get rid of your role. Or the last kind of level is, for now, you're safe from AI. And they've kind of found that so jobs that require more specialized skills, or jobs that involve more complex or nuanced human judgments and interactions, for now they're safe from AI, and that might involve like healthcare professionals. But jobs involving more routine skills that might be affected by AI, so whether that means their tasks are augmented or replicated by AI, they like kind of jobs under this group might fall under administrative roles, some types of assistant roles, and they've also listed like cashiers, legal associates, and kind of around that industry. And I think the partially worrying thing is younger workers tend to be, like Gen Zs especially, we tend to go for like junior roles because that's like all we're kind of qualified for at the moment. But the kind of partially worrying thing is it's these types of roles that often require tasks that can be replicated by AI, compared to older people in the workforce that have developed more specialized skills that might not necessarily be like replicated by AI, but more like AI will kind of complement their skills rather than replace their skills. But in saying that, we are also the most kind of experienced with AI. So we do have a lot more time to develop and get ready for AI in the workforce. But in terms of the top jobs likely to be impacted by AI, so they've kind of given us a list, and I will read that list. So it's telemarketers, tertiary educators, social professionals like interpreters, intelligence and policy analysts, judges and their clerks, counselors, purchasing and supply logistic clerks, human resource professionals, management analysts, and last is insurance and betting clerks. So that's kind of the top 10 likely to be impacted by Gen AI.
Tertiary educators is the surprising one to me. Like, do they expand on that? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to know too, but I didn't get to look into that. But I think, it says 10 jobs likely to be impacted by Gen AI. I have to kind of look into if by impacted they mean positively impacted or negatively impacted, because I've seen a few kind of things saying, in the education industry, the workload is getting a lot more, and we do still value that individual attention, but incorporating AI could kind of lift the burden of that. So kind of incorporating it into the education could help both students and students and teachers. So I'm not 100% sure if these, when they say impacted, it means negatively or positively, but I do think to some extent these will be, AI will play a greater role in these jobs.
I guess it's like not worrying, but it's also like a little bit, if it's a positive thing for the people in these roles, that would be great. But I guess like for the students who are worried about it, and none of us can tell the future, right? Like none of us are going to be able to know whether or not AI is going to impact our jobs in the future. But I mean, for the students who are worried about it, maybe they're at a point where they're wanting to start working, or they're picking something to study that will inform the rest of their lives. Like what's maybe some advice that you could give them as someone who's had, who's done that research?
Yeah, definitely. So I came across a ABC News article, and they said 75% of companies worldwide are looking to adopt AI within the next 5 years. So, in response to that, I would say familiarize yourself with AI, and just, using AI is one thing, but just getting to know how AI works. Like if we look at ChatGPT specifically, shout out to Caesar because he kind of taught me this. When you're using ChatGPT, it's not kind of enough just blindly asking it something. You kind of have to gentle parent it. So, for example, you asked, so you ask it to,
That is such
give.
the term. Sorry, you have
Oh
to
yeah,
gentle
right.
parent ChatGPT.
You have to gentle parent. Yeah, yeah. And it's kind of like you ask it one thing, but you're not 100% happy with the output. And in my experience, that's, I'm not always 100% happy with the output that ChatGPT spits out. So it's kind of like saying, okay, I really like this aspect that you mentioned, but I don't like this. Scrap it and give me another idea. And just keep kind of refining it until you tell it like exactly what you're happy with. And then you just get to know how like not so much the back end, but just how the algorithm kind of works. But according to our kind of survey results earlier, 77% of Gen Zs are already using AI, so that's really good. But it would be really good to just get more in-depth knowledge of AI.
But what about what would you say to the Gen Zs or the students who are maybe a bit scared to adopt AI into their practices? Do you have any advice there?
Oh, that's a really good question. Because I would have to say initially I was like Bianca, I was very skeptical about ChatGPT. Like if anyone knows me, I just hate putting my information on the internet. I'll only put information on the internet if it's absolutely necessary. And that for me includes like using ChatGPT. But for advice, I would probably, the most obvious thing would be like don't upload personal information, obviously. For me personally, if you don't feel comfortable using it, then don't feel the need to be forced to use it. But at the same time, it's kind of tricky because more and more people are leaning towards it, more and more people are using it.
Yeah, I think going off what Chloe said as well. I think if you're not comfortable with it, like you don't have to use it. I think there's also this maybe this subconscious fear of like if I don't use it, am I going to fall behind as well? It's like such a double-edged sword, I think, and it's really kind of grey at the moment. And I did want to highlight something Chloe said earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt you because you were saying everything so eloquently, because you were talking about the top 10 industries or jobs that would be impacted by AI, but you noted impacted could mean positive or negative, and I think I definitely want to highlight that again, because I think when you hear that jobs are going to be affected by AI, I don't know about you guys, but to me that automatically sounds like a negative thing. And I guess if I'm playing devil's advocate towards everything that I said previously as well, Emma, I think you and I talked about how I think there was an AI tool in an editing process that was able to remove noise from our microphone recordings. There's little things like that, which is really interesting, where you're like, okay, there's methods in other areas in certain tech that isn't, I guess, specifically based off the data that you input in a way of words or in a way of images, but in a way that maybe processes or software can run things a little bit more efficiently or smoother. I think that's a really interesting kind of positive in terms of a workflow process perspective. But yeah, I think whether you choose to embrace it or not is entirely up to you. I don't think there's, like Chloe said, we're not professionals on the matter, but I think that's a totally personal choice whether you choose to do it, and there is no right or wrong way to do it either. But I think it's still good just to know of it and what it's capable of, and to see both sides of those arguments too, because I think they're both completely valid. And I think it's going to be something really interesting worldwide that a lot of higher ups in terms of tech and ethics and stuff like that are going to really have to evaluate, because, going back to what Chloe was saying about in terms of a court setting and things like that, it's got that kind of bias in there, and it also doesn't acknowledge a lot of, well, obviously AI doesn't acknowledge those kind of human aspects that come with decision making and things like that. So yeah, there's just so much to it. And obviously this conversation, like, we could be talking about this for ages, but yeah, I think whatever you choose to do is entirely up to you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I really liked what you said earlier, Chloe, about how no matter what research comes out about AI, the thing that's most important is that you're actually picking something that you enjoy studying and that you think you'll enjoy working in. Like, ultimately, whether AI, is something that happens or not, in every industry you have to pivot because there are new changes within that field, right? Like, I'm sure, we work in like content and marketing. I'm sure that the people who studied content and marketing in, TAFE or in uni 20 years ago have had to pivot because of new advances in that field, right? And AI is just one of those things that could advance or, not advance the field. We just don't know. So I think when you're looking for something to study, it's great to be mindful of how AI might impact that, but there are also other things that could impact that. And you shouldn't let those things, factor into what you choose to study and what you choose to do with your life. Like, ultimately, you'll be a lot happier, I think, just choosing what you enjoy and what you're good at, as opposed to something that you think might happen, because we can't predict the future.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of Ask Student Edge. If you want to watch more clips like this, give us a like and subscribe.